Hey everybody, welcome to the Philly Film Brothers podcast. I am Chris Pierdomenico.
I'm Dave Pierdomenico, and we're coming to you live from an undisclosed location aboard the Raft Prison in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. Now we're actually in my childhood room, just kind of circumstances today.
You grew up in the Raft Prison?
I grew up in the Raft Prison, yeah, no.
That explains a lot.
I haven't lived in this room in like
15
about 15 years, I think.
Something
15,
like
14 years. So yeah, it's kind of weird to be doing this now here in 2021. But anyway, but that aside, we are back and we are here to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the latest series on Disney Plus, the second Marvel series, of course, and the follow-up to the Captain America saga. Now, of course, we watched Captain America essentially retire in Endgame, and he had a really phenomenal ending. And it's always tough, when your main character retires or he dies or something. He's been
doing the character for a decade.
He had to, but I'm saying when you have the main character retire in any franchise, it is difficult to kind of keep the franchise going. However, I will say that this was for me the perfect follow-up. This is such a great way to continue the Captain America mythology.
I like that they didn't. I like that we got the sense that the consequences of Civil War were still going on.
Yeah.
And on the side note, if you hear any birds squawking in the background, those are falcons because we're reviewing Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, we're at Mom's house.
And she has 3 birds. Not falcons, but close.
Yeah, close enough.
They just want to be in there. We had to have birds in here somehow.
So, yeah, now you did a whole review series on WandaVision. I was not a part of that. I really enjoyed WandaVision. Now, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was very much a return to... it felt like an extended Marvel movie in chapters.
It wasn't quite as a lot of people, ever since Falcon and Winter Soldier ended, a lot of people have been comparing it to WandaVision. I think WandaVision was certainly a much more creative concept and took more risks. Not all of them paid off.
Yeah. Falcon
and Winter Soldier kind of, played it straight. But everything did pay off. And what I loved about it was, I'll admit, I was initially hesitant with the trailer. I felt like it was just going to be, they were really advertising it like this kind of cheesy buddy cop comedy. Get it? They don't get along.
Yeah.
Get it? And that's maybe one small part of it.
It's really not.
It's not that at all. It's much deeper. It's much more poignant. It's much more relevant to current, issues.
I think they can hear us talking, and that's why they won't shut up.
That's probably why it is. Our Falcons!
Yeah. That's tough for me to edit out.
The audience will find it charming.
I hope so.
Comment below if you want us to have more birds.
I'm going to edit this stuff out. This is just. So the whole buddy comedy thing. That was really the first couple episodes. And not even a big part of it, but just a small portion.
It goes much deeper than that, and
yeah,
it's much more emotional than I think we were expecting it to be.
Yeah, I think they sold it it was marketed as an action kind of a return to Marvel
which it
form,
is.
Because it does feel like the successor to, well, more so the Winter Soldier movie.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the successor to that, more so I think even than Civil War. It has that kind of that real world grittiness, if you will.
Because they're dealing with sort of a morally gray, messy terrorist organization. I liked the villain. I feel like we didn't get it quite enough of her, but she reminded me a lot. Carly Morgenthau reminded me a lot of Killmonger from Black Panther.
Yeah, I can see that.
Her cause was noble because the GRC they weren't handling it properly. They were causing the suffering of all the refugees. So I understand her cause, but then she was willing to like take hostages, kill innocent people, and that's where you kind of lost her.
Well, and that's with any like the best villains in Marvel were the ones where you kind of get where they're coming from.
From their perspective, they're the hero, and she sees herself as a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
Rather than a terrorist.
And that's the best kind of villain, is the one that is the hero of their own story, not just someone that's just like, ooh, I'm evil.
Speaking of the hero of their own story, we got to talk about the new Captain America.
The new Captain America. I was so excited when that, because I guess like at the end of Endgame, it's just kind of assumed that, Sam is gonna take the shield, and but
he literally hands.
He hands him the shield, but it's you kind of learning that. That it's far more complicated than that for Sam to just take that on, with Captain America being...
It's a symbol. And
a symbol and more of an idea than a person. But when he finally, kind of embraces it, and in the 6th episode he shows up, he says, I'm Captain America. I was like, yeah!
Had this been released in theaters, that would have been a moment people cheered.
Yeah, it's weird because we're watching Marvel in our house now, so it's not
the same. It's not.
It's not that crowd energy.
But
it was great. I loved it.
I gotta say, I really dig the fact that he still has the Falcon wings, that he can fly and throw the shield.
Well, it makes sense, American Eagle.
The sword?
No, not the sword. Oh yeah, like bald eagle is the symbol of.
Yes.
That's what I meant. Bald eagle.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of...
by the way, I was glad that, because I was thinking, well, if he becomes Captain America, does he lose his wings? And I'm like, well, that would kind of stink, because that was helpful.
What's the policy on that?
It's kind of like a downgrade, but I love that they incorporated the Falcon into this is now what Captain America is, and I'm really excited for the follow up to this. They're doing another Captain America movie.
They have announced a Captain America 4 is what they're calling it right now.
But even in the end, when they changed the title of the show to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, it's very satisfying. I got choked up when the character Isaiah, such an interesting character, and when Sam brings him to the Captain America Museum. And first I'm thinking, like, how's Sam in the Captain America Museum and not, like, just surrounded by people trying to get his autograph?
He probably got a private tour.
Maybe that's what it was.
Went in before they opened.
But when Isaiah sees his statue and it just, they hug, like, it's just really, like, it's a very genuine, just a raw, authentic... I think we need right now. We needed something like that right now.
Isaiah's storyline is tragic just because of how much based in history it is. Look, look at the the Tuskegee experiments. And how African American soldiers were treated back then, and it's heartbreaking, and it all ties into as Isaiah says, if you had any self-respect, you wouldn't wear that shield, you wouldn't do that. And I like that. I think Sam needed to turn it down at first.
Yeah.
He needed to go through that character arc, and he needed to realize that, ultimately, this series is about two conflicting methods. The world is corrupt, the world is bad. Do you tear everything down and kill people in the process? That's what the Flag Smashers want to do. Or do you affect change do you be the change?
Yeah.
And that's what Sam goes with. That, yes, the legacy is a troubling one, but I can make it my own. I can make it better.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just makes total sense. And you can see, Sam changes throughout the series, and you can see in the end, like, even when he's given his monologue at the end, like, he is Captain America. That is... and it's great that we have Captain America again.
I think we need him.
Yeah, we definitely need him. And it's so interesting because, like, a character like that should not work today. Like, I think Captain America... This is just my opinion, but I know, like, they've always had trouble doing Superman movies, and it's kind of a somewhat similar character. Certainly you have
when you have a character who's just like the embodiment of good, truth, justice, and the American way. Well, that's Superman.
That's Superman.
But same idea,
right?
With Captain America, and that's why Winter Soldier is my favorite of all the MCU movies, because it has Steve Rogers face those challenges, and his ideals and his beliefs he has to confront them, that the world is much grayer.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the perfect way to tell a story with that character in the modern world. I think Sam is the perfect, modern representation of that character. And at risk of getting a lot of hate, because he is very hated, I think John Walker is a very interesting character.
He is a very interesting character. And I thought at first, first of all, I loved the whole arc where he's supposed to be Captain America, and then he does like that terrible thing. He decapitates guy who was a Captain America fan.
That was,
which is it's chilling.
In a weird, chilling way, though, that is almost representative of U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many layers to this show and this mythology, which I just, it's fascinating. I really want to go back and watch it as like all at once, like a movie, because I feel like watching it once a week, like that was helpful. But I feel like I will appreciate it more watching it all at once.
I definitely think this series works better as one long, continuous narrative. As WandaVision, because of the sitcom serial nature of it, it did work better, kind of broken up.
People were talking about that, like, would this have been better as a movie? But I think this was longer than a movie. So
it would have been like a 5-hour.
You can do more. Like maybe that is the future of filmmaking, is to do these miniseries, because you just simply have more time to tell the stories.
I mean, there's talk of them of Marvel doing the X-Men that way, as a Disney Plus series where you really can get into it.
You have to, because there's so many characters in that.
Can someone do Dark Phoenix properly? Maybe
they're not
going
to touch that for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So John Walker, I was thinking that he was going to be the villain of the show. Like I thought, like he was going to be like maybe he and Carly were going to team up, even though that didn't make sense, or they were going to be two separate villains. But then, like in the end, he
redeems himself, but like he still wants to be the good guy, and I think him as U.S. agent works better, because it's almost like Captain America is the idealized version of what we want America to be. U.S. agent is the one doing the nasty, dirty things behind the scenes. Yeah,
it was like when Elaine. To call
her name is Valentina, aka Madam Hydra.
I know.
I know she'll always be
Elaine. But then they're great.
Or the president from VP.
Yeah. But Veep rather. But I mean, she's a great actress, and I think she's perfect in that role.
She plays morally gray really well.
She does. Well, and she's used to playing in politics with another political show.
That too.
But when she says like, I think we need they don't want a Captain America, they want a U.S. agent. Like, that's the name of the character. It was like that moment in WandaVision where it's like Scarlet Witch.
We were all like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme, pointing at like, hey, that's the thing.
Which is like one of my favorite memes ever, because I find myself doing that a lot lately. Because I've been home. That's all I've been doing.
That's all we've done.
All we've been doing all year has been pointing at the TV, and like I recognize that. Yeah. I like that he is. I'm guessing, and I think in the comics, John Walker is more of an anti-hero of sorts, and so he could be like a Venom.
I see him as almost like, if you've ever seen A Few Good Men, he's almost like the Jack Nicholson character, where he's like, I'm trying to defend this country. And sometimes I have to do nasty things to do it. And it's like, at times he can be despicable, but he feels very justified in what he's doing. Not unlike Carly Morgenthau.
Yeah, so that's the thing with this show, and we didn't even get into Sharon. I'm still trying to figure her out. The only thing I will say about Sharon, I think she should have had more screen time. Like, it felt like they made a big deal about bringing her back, but she really
deserved better, and
she's really not in it that much.
Because the whole reveal of her as the power broker was like, oh, okay.
Well, I was like confused. I'm like, am I understanding this wrong?
Like, is this meant to be a big thing? Because you're not treating it like it's a big thing.
And I don't know how I feel about the niece of Peggy Carter being bad. Like that kind. Like it's interesting in a way, but I don't know. It kind of bugs me a little bit.
Also, I think you made a Facebook post about this. She probably shouldn't be talking loudly about selling government secrets on like the steps of the building. Just words of advice.
It's like right in front of the building in the closing credits. I think my wife made that comment and I posted it. I'm like, yeah, this is true. I would have liked to have seen more with her. I mean, maybe we're going to get more with her in Captain America 4. It would be very interesting if she was maybe the villain of that, potentially.
I feel like her character wasn't done justice.
No.
Because she got screwed over. She had to go into hiding for, helping them in Civil War. And she kind of had that moment with Steve. But then he got his happy ending. And so, well, what about Sharon?
Right. Hey, but what about Zemo? Zemo was great.
Daniel's role had the most fun of anyone in that.
Well, it's like you think... it's another great example. Like, we're talking about, like, Carly and John Walker. Zemo is complex, too. I mean, he's... watching this now, like, it seemed like they did do a little bit of retconning with him. Like, he was... Like, we didn't know in Civil War that he was, like, this baron and he was rich and everything. And
I mean, if you were to... His name is Baron von Zemo.
Yeah, but the
movie doesn't really get into it.
They played it up in Civil War that he was just kind of an ordinary citizen of Sokovia.
Well, no, they did say that he led a special forces team.
Oh, you're right.
That did some U.S. agent shady things behind the scenes.
Because he knows a lot of people, and
he's essentially like a KGB agent.
Yeah, but I just love that he. He's just is so interesting. Like, I would love to see that guy again. I mean, first of all, I could just watch him dancing for hours.
I love his nihilism. That he's given up on the world and he's just kind of along for the ride. I did think it was a little. I like Bucky trying to like get his life back together and trying to like he got his pardon. He's trying to stay in the line. His decision to break an international terrorist out of prison came a little too quickly. Like,
yeah, I feel like they kind of brushed that off. Like, oh, like I didn't quite get that. Like, how did you pull that off?
Like he goes from I have to be good and obey the law and do this homework for my therapist to, hey, by the way, I broke Zemo out of like an international prison, and I'm only going to tell you in brief flashback.
Yeah.
I did think that that needed to be a bigger deal than
maybe like a two-parter
or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I thought that the dynamic between Zemo and Sam and Bucky was just really interesting. And I just it was constant tension because they're like, we really need Zemo, but you know what? Like, you did all these terrible things.
It reminded me a bit of Star Trek Into Darkness when Kirk has to kind of temporarily team up with Khan out of necessity, but he still knows do not trust this guy with anything. Yeah.
And in the end, Zemo winds up getting what he wants, which it took me a second. Like, we were watching it, and I see the car in the old guy. I'm like, that looks like one of Zemo's car. And I put it together, because, we watch this, like, every week, so it just, I don't remember every character. I'm like, oh no, that's Zemo's butler. So he set that up. So that was really interesting. I didn't really have any complaints about this show at all. I think in any kind of action thriller, like I have trouble following at times. So it's better if I go rewatch it. There certainly were some times where I wasn't sure what was happening.
There's a lot of moving pieces.
There's many moving pieces.
There's a lot more room for kind of like your cliches and your tropes of the genre. Like I said before, it was better. Its ending, I felt, was better executed than WandaVision, but as a concept, it was less original. It was kind of like your standard. You knew what you were getting with it.
I don't know. WandaVision ended with shooting beams in the air.
That's why I said its ending. This ending delivered better.
Yeah, and this felt really earned, and all the characters were just really interesting with this. So they all were nuanced in some way. And I really like the relationship between Sam and Bucky. I mean, it's interesting how that grows. Because, I mean, really, they didn't really know each other. Like, their only connection is Steve.
And the first time they met was when Bucky was trying to kill them on the freeway in D.C.
Right.
So, first impressions and all that. And they didn't have a whole lot in common.
Yeah, this guy's, you got Sam Wilson. Although they're both veterans, which
they are.
But
they are. They understood that, but, one's from the 40s, one's from today, and... Sam is kind of more wisecracking. Bucky. I think this show was the first time we really saw him genuinely smile like ever since the first Avenger.
Yeah, I saw that. There's a meme about that.
Because of just all the trauma he's been through. Like, the fact that his brain still functions and he can still, walk and talk is amazing. Just how much Hydra broke him mentally.
Yeah. It's
a miracle that he's able to do anything.
Right. And he's 105 years old or something. Yeah, but I think it was a great show, and it couldn't have come at a more perfect time. These Marvel shows are coming out when we can't go to the theaters, so we can still kind of follow along with what's going on. I really want to go back to the theaters and see a Marvel movie, but this is a nice complementary thing that goes with it, and it takes itself as seriously as the film.
Oh, it does, and that's why I respect it, and I respect that Marvel kind of keeps them canon, unlike certain unnamed Netflix shows that they pretend don't exist.
Well, here's the thing: there has not been a Marvel movie out since these shows started, so it'll be interesting how much the movies, how much is Doctor Strange 2 going to reference WandaVision? How much is... I guess Captain America 4, you have to.
They would.
But,
we have Black Widow finally coming out in July.
Yeah.
They haven't changed it yet.
Yeah.
It's coming out in theaters and on their premiere access. I still feel a certain way about them charging the $30 to... watch it on your TV.
They gotta make money. I mean, they have a lot of money, but,
No, I get it. I just, I feel like there was an op-ed recently about, these movies they charge extra for, but, the Pixar movies they just release. Soul. And it's why was that not worth it?
Same company.
That's what I mean. Why was this worth, but this wasn't?
Know. Business strategy, I'm not sure. I guess, I would imagine they're gonna release the movies they think people are gonna pay for.
True. And I'm just saying, if when Black Widow comes out, I would prefer to see it in a theater.
Well, hopefully we're there. Hopefully, get your vaccinations. We have. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so that is...
I may miss it in theaters though, because our baby is due the week after that.
Okay, well, that I'd be surprised if you don't find a way to get there. So
that may be a hard choice. Because when my first one was born, it was 2 days before Captain Marvel came out.
Oh gosh,
my kids keep being born right around the release of Marvel.
Yeah, movies. Thanks, kids. But
Lucy, I love you if you're watching this.
Yeah. That's all I got. So I thank you for watching our podcast. Good to be back. I don't know when we'll be back with something, but we'll be back with something at some point.
Marvel will be back in June with Loki.
We will cover
series
that.
I'm very into. Loki is probably my favorite Marvel character. So
that looks good. The latest trailer looks good on that. So we're looking forward to that. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Check us out at dorkdaily.com.
And if you're a fan of horror, you can check out my site, my YouTube channel at Halloween Year Round. And till next time.
Thanks for watching.